Hey YouTube, this is going to be a walk and talk talking about how to get organized, especially as a prepper. You would want to have things in order to be prepared and to have some type of means to access the gear, knowledge, and different resources. So in this walk and talk, I'm just going to basically outline some very simple ideas. For a lot of us, we know this stuff. It's just a reminder of how simple some things can be, but yet so helpful. And some of those things would be basically what I do personally is either have a notebook that I set aside and have it labeled for notes and to create a list of items. Let's just say a list of items to do, a list of items to maybe purchase, or a list of items to of things I want to learn. So you have a list, maybe multiple lists. And what you can do with these lists is to organize it in a fashion that you can prioritize which item on the list you're going to do next. And once you get this prioritized, then you can start going down the list. And it's important, though, to put an actual date to the list next to the item, per item, so that you will be held accountable for that list. And I even go one step further and I estimate the time that it'll take to do the item on the list. For example, if I'm painting some part of my house, I like to make an estimation of time allotment for that, what day I want to do it, or what week at least. And the more specific you can be, the more guaranteed that you'll probably be motivated to do it, just for the fact that the more you have in detail of a plan, the more you're willing to do it, because it's more concrete. You have more of an outline and more of a path to success. You can also do, sometimes what I do is take a clipboard. Clipboards are very good. They're really nice and neat and orderly. They have, just a very small footprint in terms of size. And with that being said, you can simply just put some paper on there. It could just be some legal pad, notepad paper, whatever. It could just be some, printer paper, and just draw a few lines down the middle, and then create your categories of your list. Some people aren't into making lists, and I get that. But there's honestly a lot of good things that come from having a list and being organized than just kind of randomly doing things throughout the day or week. It's hard to prepare for things when you don't know what's next. So with that being said, I'm just kind of putting this out there if you can try to organize your things, the to-do list, the things to have list, and maybe the things to learn list, and maybe even a list of things to remind yourself of how and what you want to be, or what you're trying to do in your life. What is your bigger goals? For example, maybe reminding yourself to go to bed earlier, than what you have been. It could be that simple. It could just be something that says, hey, don't forget to meditate in the morning, or don't forget to work out or do some type of exercise. At least get out of the house every once in a while, or take a break, or get motivated. Things that motivate you can put down in that list. So when you need to get a little boost of motivation, you can just look at your list. So I wouldn't make the list too overwhelming or too complicated by any means, for the fact that if it is too complicated, you're not going to want to do anything on the list. You won't even want to look at the list. So if anything, you'll want to simplify your list, but you want it to be precise and to the point. And you definitely don't want 100 things on your list, 50 things on your list, even really 20 things on your list. I try to really get it down to about 10 or less. And that's a more manageable, workable list. And you might have things that are more short-term, things that you can simply do, like painting a room. You can do that in a day or two, and then you can check it off. You might have more long-term things, though, such as saving money for a car. Maybe that could be an example. And if all you can do is save $50 a month and you're trying to get a $3,000 used car, it's going to take a little while, So that's a long-term goal, for sure. And there's also other long-term goals, maybe saving up for a house or doing a more extensive project. Maybe you had the skills to build an extra room onto your home. That could be a few months to actually finish that if you're doing it by yourself. It just depends on your time and what you have going on. But these are just ideas to help you remind yourself that the more organized you are, especially in prepping, if you know what you have and the resources and skills, then you're going to have that much more of an ease to get through an emergency, because you can access those. They will be in an orderly fashion available to you when you need it, and not just dispersed randomly about, and you haphazardly just run into them by accident, and you don't want to just have that kind of chaos in your life. So just try to simplify things, be very precise and exact about what you want to accomplish. Give yourself a timeline, focus, be motivated. And if all you do is just one thing a day, then at least you work and you chip away at whatever you're doing. That's the same thing that they talk about when you're saving for retirement or you're prepping. You just do a little bit at a time, and over a long period of time, you get a lot accomplished. Much more than if you try to push yourself and rush into doing everything within a couple of days, which is just not possible. There's no way to make enough money in a few weeks or a few months or even a few years to have enough to live on for the rest of your life for the average person. Just as prepping, there's no way that the average person can afford or even have the time to try to prep for, let's just say hypothetically, to survive a full 1 year of everything you need. Even the average prepper doesn't even have 1 year to everything. People who have been doing this for decades. So you have to just, be able to be honest with yourself and say what's realistic, and give yourself realistic timelines. With that being said, there's a lot of different approaches that people have. Sometimes people use phones to help keep themselves orderly, and an organizer, or their computer, desktop or laptop. They might have a program that helps organize their schedule, and you can integrate these lists, but you can either, write them out or type them, but whatever it is, it's good to have a backup copy. And it's also good to be able to mark things off the list before you make a new list. I think it's a psychological thing. For me, it helps a lot to at least mark out, one or two things, because sometimes you get really tired of looking at the same list and you want to maybe change it up or add something or delete something on the list. But before you do that, at least have some accomplishment and know that you made progress by doing a few of those things, marking them off. And so when you recreate and you make the list again, you don't have to see some of those same items there again. And you know that you did work through and did what you were supposed to do, what your goals were. So I wish everybody the best on your organization and your list making. I'm a pretty big list kind of guy personally. I think it's very helpful. Not everybody, thinks the same way. Some people just try to be very sporadic, and that might be kind of fun and all in some sense, but at the same time, you typically get a lot less done in life when you hop from one thing to another and you don't have any kind of order to it. With that being said, there's some things in life you don't want to overmanage. Like it's hard to have spontaneous, planned fun. You can't just plan some things. So with that being said, you have to just kind of use a lot of common sense in this, but having some structure and organization never hurt most people. Thanks for watching.